Drink it in, man.
Back, pressure throw, gonna get hit, gonna go down, sack back outside the 50-yard line. Ziggy did it.
Drink it in, man.
They've got a man wide open. Golden at the 10, Golden at the 5, Golden to the house. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. There it is. Been looking for that all night. Cornbread. Touchdown, Detroit Lions.
Drink it in, man.
Detroit Kool-Aid, what's going on, everybody? We are back, and I'm back here with Grifka, and I don't have to yell at him on this episode. Grifka, what's going on, buddy?
Nothing, man. I've just been skywalking on my haters, so that's we have to. You might be one of them, so let's keep this one friendly this time.
You're getting up our young demo with those kind of spitting those kind of words, Grifka. I didn't know you were that hip to the scene. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know, man. Maybe trying to channel my little Tim.
I was gonna tell don't at Grifka on Twitter, but Grifka doesn't have Twitter, never will, and I can't get him to get on social media barely at all. So you can't yell at him on Twitter, folks. Sorry, maybe someday. But yeah, we had our argument last week, man. Worked our way through it, gave that recap of San Francisco, answered some questions. This week, Grifka, I can't believe it's already week 3 of the NFL season. There's no way we thought our Lions would be 0-2 and looking as bad as they have kind of through the majority of these first 2 games. But I'm here to say, man, we are here at week 3. This is a game we really had circled on our schedule of, wow, Patriots coming to Detroit, Sunday night football at Ford Field. Thought we'd be 2-0 maybe, and big football game. And now we're 0-2. It's still a heck of a big football game. The Patriots are coming off of a loss. Everybody, we're just going to dive right in this game and start previewing it. So I'll flip it to you, Grifka. Patriots coming to town. Belichick versus Patricia. Lions, Patriots. What are you thinking?
This is going to be a tough one. I know we had talked about this when we were previewing the season a while back, and it seems like the understudies of Bill Belichick never fare too well against him when they go head-to-head. I'm not quite for sure how many wins Eric Mangini had against him. I know he had at least one, and that just just made Belichick pretty mad. But I'm not quite for sure, if what Roman Cronell or was it Charlie Weiss or even Bill O'Brien is doing against them. But it just seems like his understudies, he either knows their tendencies, knows what they're going to do, and he seems to handle them pretty well. So I don't know really. I want to be, Johnny Blue Skies with this game, but this is just going to be a real tough one for him. I mean, the Patriots are coming off a loss against a very tough Jacksonville team, and I think I read recently that Tom Brady has only lost, back-to-back games during the regular season like that, and only a couple times in his starting career. Maybe just like twice during his whole career he's lost back-to-back games. So, it's one of those things where it's going to be a very tough climb to come away with a W on this one. And it's another one of those nationally televised games. It's Sunday night, and hopefully it's not like week 1 when they were on the big stage, and hopefully they can turn it around this week, and that defense finally starts to come together. So I guess I'll just have to check out the Patriots roster to see who the no-name guys are who might have big weeks.
Yeah, let me jump in there. From my perspective, last week we talked a lot about being a true fan, hanging in there, not wanting to quit on this team. But like I say, I call a spade too. To me, we knew this would be a tough game from the time the schedule came out. It's going to be tough. it's never easy going to get up against probably the greatest quarterback and the greatest head coach of all time. I think it comes down to two things, and this is why I'm still going to be rooting my tail off for the Lions. I think they have the ability to win this football game, but to me it comes down to two things, and they don't marry up well in regards to how this game may pan out, because I think the Patriots are not only coming off a loss. You said the stat, they don't lose multiple games too often. But the thing that I'm pointing to is I like their overall offense they have good running backs that can catch, and they have a tight end that's almost unguardable. And I feel like the Lions don't cover the running backs well in the pass game or the tight ends. So those two things are not good when it's the strength of one team and one of the big weaknesses of another. So in order to win this game, not only are we going to have to rattle Tom Brady, but we're going to have to guard guys like James White out of the backfield so he can't catch that little screen or arrow route and house it on us. Really got to get the run fits, as we talked about last episode, cleaned up where, Sony Michel, James White, all these different I think Burkhead will probably be in there too. We can't have these guys creasing us for big yards. So that's going to be really important on both sides of the ball. The Patriots defense overall doesn't scare me. I think this is a game where the Lions can not only put up some points, but they've had two kind of rough efforts offensively. I think we'd be due for a nice shootout or a nice bit of points going up on the board for the Lions. But, will they be able to put up those stops, and will they be able to contain a guy like Gronkowski? I just see him having a big game along with, if we don't give up a couple of those big plays, that's what worries me the most.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Having to guard the running backs a little better, and like you said, it just seems like we never guard tight ends very well. And Gronkowski's pretty much like the alpha male, right now of tight ends, guarding him. I guess my question is to you. One thing I want to pose to you is, we all seen the headline in the news. We've read about it. The Patriots trading pretty much a bag of beans for Gordon from the Cleveland Browns. I know to counteract that with not knowing what Slay's going to be able, if he's going to be able to play this week or not with his concussion. The Lions signed they got Deshaun Shedd back, even though they cut him, in the final cut day. Do you think Gordon's even going to have an impact? Being like he just made it onto the roster Tuesday or something like that. Do you think he's going to do anything, or is it's going to be one of those things again where we're going to have to worry more about the running backs and the tight ends, or do you think Gordon's actually going to do something?
Yeah, Slay being out is going to be an issue. I don't think he'll be rebound in time to play, but to me, I've always kind of rolled the dice on Josh Gordon over the years. After he had that big year, I think it was his first or second year in the league, he really blew up. And then I rolled the dice in fantasy a couple times and got burned because he just kept being a fool off the field. And every time I thought, okay, he can't mess up another time, right? He would. So I've kind of given up on him. Well, no, I don't want to say that. I hope the guy personally does well, but it's from a football perspective, him just coming to the Patriots, I think they'll if he does play, they'll feature him in a way that could hurt us because he's such a deep threat and kind of a physical specimen. Two things that again don't bode that well for the Lions are these big physical receivers, or these guys that can just go up over the top and score. So I'm really hoping he doesn't have one of those house call type touchdowns where the whole league is talking about, oh, look at the Patriots. They swiped this guy for a late fifth and he blew up against the Lions, and then that's the talk of the town. But I see if he does suit up, just having a few things set up for him, and hopefully that we'll be able to defend it. But yeah, I could see him having a big touchdown or a big long play, which, again, that's pretty much all it would take for everybody to talk about him. But, with that being said, Grifka, one thing I want to ask is, again, I've mentioned it on multiple podcasts, not saying that we should have went out and got Josh Gordon, but we're never in on any of these deals, which, like you said, if he goes and flames out and has another positive drug test in New England, is it really that big of a deal for a conditional fifth where he has to play 10 games for them to even give up the pick? To me, if we did need a receiver, or if we were in that situation where he was a little bit better fit, we got to start getting in on some of this stuff, man. All these guys are going from nothing in the NFL, and we're just standing pat. And this guy's young. He makes no money. Like, it was just another one where I was just thinking, man, what if Golden Tate or somebody was hurt or we knew we weren't going to re-sign him? Why would you not try to get in on this guy and just hope it works?
Yeah, they always seem to be the house standing by the side of the road, just letting all the NFL players, that are like out there passing by, because it always seems like they're afraid to give up those draft picks prior to the draft. But then in the draft, they're more than willing. It's like, oh, we got to jump up and take this guy, so we're going to give you our 5th round this year and our 4th next year to move up, in the 4th round to take some guy who may be okay, as opposed to, Gordon's not a superstar, but he's almost had that potential, to be that. But like you said, he kind of keeps tripping over himself. And I know we talked about the Khalil Mack trade, where it's like our 2 first-round picks, is that, too much given up for him? It's just like, based on where they're at, really? Are you going to be able to get something like that later? So it just always seems like the Lions hold on to the draft picks, while they're looking for players, but then come the draft, they're always more than willing just to disperse those late round picks to move up, 5 spots to get some guy who's just another guy.
And so, real quick on Khalil Mack, because like this would probably be the last time I'll talk about him in regards to that trade, but Grifka, that dude's a freaking wrecking ball. Like, we've seen it in 2 games now. He was at the perfect position, at the perfect age. I don't like the ridiculous contract they pretty much had to give him. But other than that, this guy's going to be a terror to deal with for the next 5, 6, 7 years, however long he dominates at the defensive end type position for Chicago.
Right,
and
right now,
it was exactly what we needed.
Right,
like
and right now, he was good before, and he's he was great before, and he's getting even better because right now he's playing with that chip on his shoulder to prove John Gruden wrong. So It makes him even more dangerous. He's not a guy who was a free agent and went out and got paid. He was a guy who's just like, trade me because I can't freaking stand you. And it's like, oh, we don't need you here. We're going to trade you. Good. Now I'm going to show you what you're missing. And that makes him extremely dangerous. Before was a completely average team, and I'm not saying the Bears are like Super Bowl contenders now, but they could do some damage as opposed to what we thought of them before.
Yeah, it's a big upgrade. So let me get back to what you said too about Josh Gordon and can he impact this game. The thing I want to ask you is like, well, let me put this out first. I don't want to be that Lions fan again that I beat up last episode of where like, woe is me or thinking the worst. But one big question I have on my brain for this game or hope is that I don't want to get beat up by the Patriots in our house and have everybody looking at the Lions at 0-3, another game that we lose by double figures and don't look sharp. Like, that's another reason why we have to it's got to be better. Like, it's got to be better this week because that's my biggest fear is that Josh Gordon catches a 50-yard touchdown. Sony Michel has his breakout party. Tom Brady's Tom Brady, and we can't stop anybody, and it just gets ugly. And I do not want that to happen, but there's a little bit in me that says it's not out of the realm of possibilities, especially the way that they've been playing the first 2 games.
I agree with you on that. That's where this is one of those games. It's like, I know it's a Sunday night game and I got to work Monday morning. It's just like, you want to heckle me for about Quentin in the second quarter, but depending on what that scores in the second quarter, it's just like, so I have to get up for work Monday morning. Is this even going to be worth staying up for it? But it seems like the Patriots have that in them to like I said, we've played them before where it's just like, okay, we're just going to come out and whoop your butt from the start. We're not going to toy with you. We're not going to play around. This game's going to be over by halftime, and we know it, and you're going to know it. And the Patriots have that in them to do that. And I know when we were previewing the season, we were talking about the Patriots game, and I said it seems like the Patriots early in the season always have that game where you expect them to win it, and they always go out and they lay an egg. It's always seemed it was always against like Buffalo or Miami, but maybe it was that Jacksonville game just to kind of shake them into back into just like, hey, you guys are still beatable. So, now they're all like, okay, now we got to show the team that we got to show the NFL we're the Patriots again. So we're going to come out and just, put a whooping on Detroit. So you're right. That is definitely out there. And, yeah, I'm worried that this game's going to be over by halftime, and Chris Collinsworth has fallen in love with Tom Brady doing the RPO, even though I don't think Tom Brady's ever done an RPO in his life, because nobody's going to fear Tom Brady running. So, but I know Chris Collinsworth is going to use that term during the game probably about 10 times. So, yeah, that's my biggest fear, is that the Patriots just come in and just lay the lumber from the jump, and the Lions have no answer at all, and this game's out of hand. Come halftime.
So Grifka, with that being said, let's put something on the table right now. Like, we already had our big battle last episode, but to build off that, can I get you to somewhat agree right now that if this game starts out a little rocky, that you're not gonna jump off the ship too early? If this game is a little rough from up till halftime, but it's not out of reach, that you're gonna hang in there and just still believe that, hey, it's 21-10. It's not over. It's not a terrible game yet.
No,
Can I at least get that from you so that we can hang in there and root this team on? Because yeah, I agree. If it gets out of hand, like, you can say so, and I'll agree with you. But until it does, or until we're totally out of a game, you got to hang in there on this one and the ones moving forward.
right.
And as much as we're like saying we hope we don't get blown out, this and the other, like, let's flip the coin too and tell the people, again, this is the Detroit Kool-Aid cast. They don't want to hear the woe is me and this, that, and the other. Like, I want to talk too about why we can win this game and why everyone knows and thinks we can't, but there's no reason we can't score on them and play better defense and win a big home game that would really flip everybody around. To all the haters would be like, wow, they just beat the Patriots in Ford Field. Like, then you'd have everybody back on the other side of the coin. So
right. I mean, I agree with you. Usually when I'm watching those games and it gets to be a certain score, and then I'm always thinking, okay, if the Lions are by within this amount by this time left, they have a chance. If they're down by 14 going into the fourth, but they have the ball and they're driving, going late in the third and going into the fourth, it's like, okay, now if they score with like 12 minutes left, they'll only be down by 7, so that's good. But then I'm always playing that game in my mind. It's just like, okay, if they're with this, they're this, they're this. But if it's like one of those things where, like, if the Patriots like 14 at halftime, it's just like, oh, it's not looking good, and then they go out in the third quarter, and then the Patriots, they're just running the ball and they go up by 21 going into the fourth. It's just like, yeah, okay. I mean, there's no way I'm just like thinking, okay, well, if they score here, this score, there's a point where it's just like, you just need to cut it out. And that's where, like, okay, that's where I'm going to jump ship. Okay. I'll agree with you. If it's starting to look bad early, I'll give it some time, because I'm always that guy. It's like, okay, if they're within X amount of points with this much time left, they still have a chance. But if it's one of those things, they're down by 14 at halftime, Patriots get the ball first, and their first drive, they just march down the field again. They're down by 21 with 12 minutes left in the third. It's not looking good at that point.
yeah, but see, like, that's where I got to stop you again, because you said, well, then I'll jump ship, or like I'll wait a little bit. Like, I thought we argued and yelled at each other enough that we can't have you jumping ship. Like, you can in your mind think, if it gets ugly, okay, this game we're not going to be able to come back. But I can't have them getting beat by, again, we don't think or want this to happen, but down 21 starting the fourth quarter. Okay, not only is this game over, but the season's over. They're the worst team I've ever seen. Like, I'm telling you that this is a game you have to mentally tell yourself going into it that you got to hang in there through. There's going to be some rough moments in this game. We're going to get scored on. Tom Brady is going to slice and dice. I have really no doubt about it that he's going to have at least 3 or 4 touchdowns. But, like, I'm just saying, you got to get your head mentally right that you're going to have to hang in there. And even if it's a bad loss, like, okay, we can rebound against Dallas at least, and then go have a pretty big game against Aaron Rodgers. Like, those are the kind of things you got to almost figure out ahead of time, because it's going to be tough. But I don't want you doing the same old song and dance if they do get down 21, because it's just one game again. I mean, this is an important game. If you go down 0-3, you don't make the playoffs in the NFL. But 0-3 also isn't the end of the year. It's the third game. It's not even a quarter of the way through the season. So I'm putting those thoughts in your head now, so I don't have to yell at you via text on Sunday about it.
Okay. So let's do this. We just talked about doom and gloom. So what do the Lions have to do to win this game? Why don't you start, and we'll go with that.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, I think they're going to have to win it in a shootout. I think it's going to have to be like 38-31 or 41-38 or, 31-28. It's going to have to be up in the upper 20s, upper 30s, or even more to win this football game. And again, it comes down to number 9. I think we're going to feed. Not, I don't know if we're going to. I think that we have to feed and pound Kerryon Johnson, as I continue to say. I'm just waiting for it to finally happen. I'm talking 20 to 25 carries, as well as Matt Stafford probably throwing the ball 40 times. And I think this is a game your offense has to win. I don't expect the defense to be that good. I mean, I expect them to give up at least, 20, 24, 28 points at a minimum. So offense, score more than the Patriots. Defense, make a few timely plays, whether it be pick, fumbles, whatever you got to do to get a couple turnovers and win it that way.
Yeah, I think a couple things. I mean, the biggest thing is, like you said, I think is feed Kerryon, to be honest with you. I know LeGarrette Blount's going to be one of those guys like, I used to pay for the Patriots. I want to show them I still got, gas left in the tank. But like we talked on the last podcast, I believe Kerryon's probably the best running back on the team right now as an overall back. I believe, once again, Theo Riddick has better receiving skills, even though we didn't show that too much late in the game against San Francisco. But I think receiving-wise, he's better than that. But and we know Kerryon's not a thumper that LeGarrette Blount's supposed to be. But I think overall game, they bring to the game, Kerryon's probably the best running back on the team. So I think he starts to need to get most of the majority of carries on that. Biggest thing is, I think they're going to have to get in Tom Brady's face. I think he's one of those quarterbacks. He's not mobile, by any stretch of the imagination. He's not even like Dan Marino wasn't mobile, but he could at least step up in the pocket and, had a very quick release. It's just Tom Brady. I think he does everything with his smarts. Really, he's one of those guys. He's not rolling out, making extending plays. That's not what Tom Brady does. So the Lions are going to have to come up with a defensive scheme to really get in his face. And, Tom Brady's seen a lot. He's, done a lot. So, making him, worry or rattle him is going to be really difficult. It's just got to be one of those things where you're going to have to get in his face and he's going to have to get rid of the ball quicker than what he wants to and let those plays develop. So that's, I think the biggest things that they're going to need to do is that they're going to have to really get Kerry on the ball and, get in Tom Brady's face, on the defense and, Stafford, just make the plays. Don't try to do too much. Just play within your game and yourself and, don't turn the ball over. Don't be fumbling the ball when nobody's around you for 5 yards. And let's not be trying to throw that ball into tight windows and when, 3-4 guys are standing around your wide receiver.
Yeah, Tom Brady's not the most athletic freak, but he's got the best pocket presence I've ever seen in the game. The guy stands there like a statue, moves left, right, just throws BBs all over the field. He doesn't seem any older to me. Every time I look at him, he looks the same as he did 10 years ago. He throws the ball the same, if not better. So, all those things worry me. My thing I want to hit on, I mentioned it in my why they could win or how they could win, but talk to me about turnovers, Griff. I feel like if we went back and did a bunch of research, when the Lions win, and again, I've probably said this in the past, I'm going to say it again, it proves true almost every time. When the Lions win or when the Lions are good, it all comes down to turnover ratio. When they win the turnover battle, they win football games. When they lose it, they don't. And that's what most NFL games come down to. If you really want to break it down to one or two stats, to me, that's the biggest stat in the game is, did you win or lose the turnover battle? And nowadays, how'd your quarterback play? Those are the two things that kind of dictate ball games. So how the heck are we going to get turnovers on Tom Brady or jarring the ball loose on running backs? How the heck are we going to do that? Because if we get 0 turnovers and no pressure, it's game over.
I don't see too many picks coming out of Tom Brady. I know he's had a game where he throws 1 or 2 here. And I don't know if that's a bad read or just the defender making the play on it. I think it's going to have to be some of those turnovers where, Glover Quinn does an excellent job at punching the ball out. I think they're going to have to be turnovers like that, either after a wide receiver gets the ball or, hitting a running back, and jarring the ball loose and coming up with a turnover that way. It just doesn't seem like Tom Brady's one just to, just throw the ball around and zing it and try to fit it in tight windows. He's very methodical, like you said. He's smart. He's just not just going to throw the ball around just to throw the ball around. So I think they're going to have to be like fumbles for turnovers in this game, as opposed to trying to get interceptions from Tom Brady.
See, the thing is, though, with that, it's not always Tom Brady just threw it right to, Quandre or right to, Nevin Lawson or one of these guys. Like, to me, a lot of the turnovers you see in the NFL are all these freak plays, the tip ball that just goes up in the air when your guy gets it, or some random receiver just doesn't hold the ball well and you force the fumble. Tom Brady we get great rush off the edge and he didn't do anything really wrong, but he didn't feel it for whatever reason and we just blow him up and get the ball out. Like, we can get some of those rather than wow, I can't believe Tom Brady just threw it right to us, because like you said, that's not going to happen. But one thing I want to hit on, I just thought about it as I was going through some of our DVs. Grifka, that since day one, since he signed here, that GQ, Glover Quinn, has been my guy on this team. I got the jersey. I got it signed. I've always repped him. He's come through every year. Like, I have serious issues with him in the first two games, not only with missed tackles, sometimes what appeared to be almost like a lack of effort and a lack of want to get in the play or get a guy down. And I'm not seeing that speed to both read a route or to chase some of these guys down. I'm not seeing anything. I don't know what's up with this guy, because he's always been one of the smartest guys, one of the hardest workers. I don't know if it's just two games or if he really is that DB that hit 32 some years old and probably just fell off a cliff. I mean, talk to me about Glover Quinn. Is he just been off the first two games, or be replaced sooner than later? Because we just gave him a big deal, but we've got Tracy, and we've got a lot of guys on that back end that might, be more athletic and younger. I mean, what are you seeing out of this guy?
Yeah, I'm hoping it's just that he's off a little bit in these first couple games, because you're right. Generally, when guys hit a certain age, it seems like when they fall hard and fast, and that's I guess after 4 or 5 games, we'll be able to tell which one it is. Maybe it's one of those things he does get it turned around. And so it's that's all it was. He was just off, okay, he's good. We're back to good with him. But if it's one of those things where his play continues to where it's at, where it seems like, step or two slow, misreading the play, not doing the things he used to do, it could be one of those things that age is finally catching up with him. And, he's could be one of those guys that you start to wonder, just are we going to keep him around? So I think after the first quarter of the season, after the 5th game of the year against Miami, we'll be able to tell. It's just he's just long in the tooth, and it's the game's past him. But I'm hoping it's just that he's just off a little bit, because he's come up with some big plays, timely plays for these guys, for the Lions over the last few years.
Yeah, and the only thing I want to add on GQ is I've watched his interviews the last few years, and he's always the guy that takes, sometimes it's almost kind of ridiculous. He'll take 15, 20 minutes with the media, just stand there and answer every question, which we always, he's a stand-up guy. He's just by his locker every week, no matter what, answering questions. But I'm really fearful, and again, GQ, you're one of my favorite players on the team, and I don't want to say that you're done or whatever, but I feel like he was the Caldwell guy of all Caldwell guys, and when Caldwell left, he had a burr under his saddle of how dare they get rid of my guy. But I think he was only Caldwell's guy because he didn't work them that hard, so a veteran's gonna love that, and he had the same GQ and Caldwell have the same type of mentality, personality, if I had to guess, from they're good leaders, but they're kind of quiet, and they're just, those kind of guys. So I feel when I've heard his interviews this year, he's been the guy saying, well, people might be not loving the coach, and then he'll throw but that happens with all new coaches. Oh, well, I might have lost a step, but I don't think I did. He'll say little things, and to me, it's just a guy that He already got his contract. His coach got booted, who he loved. A new guy came in and is kicking him in the rear along with everybody else, and so he doesn't love that. And he sees guys bearing down his neck. I mean, Quandre's young, Tracy's young, Tavon knows this system really well. He got a couple other guys in the mix or whatever. So I just really hope he's not that guy that sees the writing on the wall, feels like he got paid, because he's got great instincts. Has been, and hopefully still will be, a great leader on this team. And we need a guy like that on this defense. So I don't want him to be checked out. I don't want to have him lose a step, but his play needs to really increase the next handful of games for this team to win and for him as a player. Like, I don't want to have this discussion again either, but I've just been real disappointed in 27 back there on the back end. So I just wanted to bring him up on this episode. But Grifka, any other big items? I mean, Patriot-wise, like any of those guys on the defense for the Pats you want to talk about? I mean, they've got middle linebackers, they've got some corners and safeties that we got to deal with.
I think, once again, the Patriot defense is one of those, the sum of the whole is better than the parts itself. I know they have some decent guys over there, but it just doesn't seem like they have any huge superstars on that defense. And they seem to be kind of just picking up where they left off, when Matt Pat was there. It's one of those bend, dope, break defenses. Against Jacksonville, I saw some of the highlights. They had a couple missed assignments where Jacksonville's speed on offense just really took advantage of that. But I don't know if the Lions have that type of speed. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think Matt Stafford's 10 shoulders better than Blake Bortles, but Jacksonville, the running backs and wide receivers, they have some burners out there. So I just don't know if the Lions have that to be able to do that. But once again, I think the Patriots defense, once again, there's just the sum of their parts is better than, if they had a couple, all pros out there. So that's how I kind of feel about the Patriot defense this year.
Yeah, I mean, they have a new coordinator. A lot of their guys don't jump off the page, like name-wise, skill-wise, but, I mean, this team is going to the title game, the Super Bowl every year, and they pretty much have the same of characters. So I'm a little worried about, like, Claiborne coming off the edge. One guy I like for them is Derek Rivers. They took a couple of years ago, and he's been real under the radar, been hurt a little bit. But, like, he's a guy that I feel might have some pass rush in a game like this. Hightower, has always been the guy in the middle that doesn't blow you away athletically, but does, get everybody lined up and make some good plays. So, and you got McCourty, Chung, all those guys on the back end that always seem to make plays and whatnot. So they got sliced up, I think, the last couple games the Patriots did, as far as getting points put up on them and getting some pass and run against them. But this is a game, even though I said the Lions would have to put up points, I mean, it's not a game where I'm thinking this is Swiss cheese defense. I just think if I'm going to pick a way that we're going to have to be productive, it's going to be putting up points against a D like this. But, I mean, I could see them also getting after our quarterback. I mean, we kept Stafford clean last week. This week, there are going to be some edge rushers that aren't the easiest to deal with. And like you say, you just got to be careful when we're slinging the ball around, because you got some vets back there that can scheme up some plays against us, too, to turn the ball over. So, I think it's still going to be a test, but again, I have on my sheet here for this episode about Matt Stafford needs to step up, needs to win this game. He's the guy, and I'm still waiting for those games you can go back and circle years from now and say, oh, remember when he blew up the Patriots on Sunday night when we were sputtering? That was awesome. Or remember when he won in Green Bay in the cold when everything was on the line? We got to get more of that out of number 9. So, he's got to make that New England defense terrible. And I don't think they're terrible, but I think Stafford, if he's on and if these playmakers can get after him, yeah, they can make them look bad in a game like this.
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
Can we get after, I know we sort of talked about it before, but kind of just to finish this up here, can the Lions pass rush get after Tom Brady? Because Ziggy was a limited participant today, I saw. I doubt he plays, and if he does, every time he doesn't really practice, we know we don't get a ton of production out of him. Kerry Hyder, to me, has been non-existent. The only guy that's jumped off the page on the D-line has been my guy, Deshaun Hand, who I was happy they took, and he's actually been a pleasant surprise to me of what he's brought and what I've heard about him through the coordinators and some of the behind-the-scenes talk, that he's a hard worker, he's getting the scheme, the technique, all this kind of stuff. So can we get after 12? Because if we can't, I mean, I don't want to see him just standing back there with no pressure.
Yeah, I'm not quite for sure. I mean, I think they're going to need Ziggy, but like you said, it just seems like once again Ziggy's into his pant, and I was hurt first game, I'm going to take 10 games off, type thing. So once again, it's going to have to come down to the scheme. And I know they schemed up some stuff against San Francisco, and they got some pressure, but Belichick's smart enough to realize that stuff's coming. So this is where Matt Pat's going to have to. They're playing that game of chess where he's going to have to come up with something different. I don't think, they're going to be able to, well, this worked here, why don't we try this again? Because I'm pretty sure Bill Belichick has that scouted and already taken care of. So he's going to have to come up with something different. Maybe they're going to have to, Kennard's been, coming off the edge. He's been getting a little bit of pressure on the quarterback. But like I said, Kerry Hyder's been non-existent. I'm starting to think that they're starting to phase him out. But I just Deshaun Hand's been pretty decent on the run, but he still doesn't seem like the guy who's going to be that disruptive in the middle. And Ricky Jean is just going to be the run stuffer that they have. So I think they need Ziggy, but if Ziggy's going to be out there, it can't be one of those. He's out there, and then all of a sudden in the first quarter, oh, my shoulder, oh, it's my knee again, oh, it's my ankle. Dude, if you're going to play, you have to go hard. And I honestly think guys get more injured like when they try not to get injured, and then they do if they just go out there and play. So they're going to, Matt Patricia's going to have to come up with some different schemes. I don't think he's going to be able to use the same stuff against San Francisco. Kennard's going to have a big game. And I think Ziggy has to be out there to get any pressure on Tom Brady.
Yeah, to me, I agree with what you said for the most part. I mean, I wasn't saying Deshaun Hand was going to be a big sack man. He's been making good tackles when they've been there to make a couple TFLs, which are always nice to see. To me, you called Ricky Jean a run stuffer, and in the first two games, I mean, because of his lack of run stuffing or gap integrity, has killed us a couple times. So, and he's the most accountable guy, like one of the most accountable that we have. So he really needs to, play his techniques and stay to the scheme to get that handle, as well as probably many other players do. But yeah, I mean, Ziggy, I put him in the new intro music for a reason, where Dan Miller does the Ziggy did it, because we need Ziggy to do it a lot more and a lot more often, because when it usually comes right before some type of ailment or injury, and then he doesn't do it for a lot of time, which we need him as a pass rusher. And I'm glad you brought up Kennard as well. Like, to me, he's been another pleasant surprise. I like his leadership. I like his ability to get after the quarterback. So that was another positive, is having a guy like Devin Kennard on this team. I see some good things, and I even saw a few little flashes from Aquara and Flowers. I think that those guys will continue to develop, and we might see more as they kind of get acclimated and use their athleticism a little bit more. So that'll be real important across the board. So Grifka, I think we're at that time. Predictions, like I said, I started it off saying this is billed as Matt Pat versus William Belichick, but will Matt Pat be able to hang with the greatest of all time from the coaching position, Bill Belichick, and how do you see this football game turning out from a prediction perspective?
Like I had mentioned before, it just seems like Bill Belichick always has his understudies number, no matter how long he's coached against them. It always seems like he comes up with something to come out on top. And I just don't know if the defense has made enough strides to keep this game close all that long. So I think this game is going to be 31-17 New England.
Okay. We've talked about a lot of stuff the last couple episodes, and like I said, I'm still on the positive side with this team. I'm seeing they got a little bit more ways to go than we hoped as the season kicked off. I mean, if I have to make a prediction, I think we're going to come up a little short in this ball game too, unfortunately. I hate to say it, but I think it's probably going to be like 31-24 or 31-28, but I'd lean more to like 31-24 or 34-24. Pats, I think that we hang in there. We play good in the beginning. We hang throughout the game, but kind of mid to late fourth quarter, something happens where they get, a 7 to 10 point, lead on us, and we just aren't able to get it done, unfortunately. But like I said, I'll throw that out as a prediction, but I'm definitely going into this game not with the woe is me, not with the, we're going to get blown out, going in saying, hey, if this team is what we need it to be and it has the players that we hope and think it does, and if Matt Pat can continue to grow as a head coach, this is the kind of game where you have to play solid. You have to, what do the NFL players always say? Hey, I'm just hoping people go out there and can make plays. Well, everybody across the board, offense, defense, special teams, make some extraordinary, unordinary plays in this game that helps you both stay in it or win it. And that's what it's going to take, in my opinion. So I'm looking for that from the Lions, is a couple people to step up and make a play they normally wouldn't. And next thing you know, we're looking up at the end of the game, the score's in our favor, and we're high-fiving and slapping and feeling good going into the next week. That would be ideal, but it's going to be tough.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a very tough game.
Yeah. All right, Grifka. Well, that being said, that was our preview of the Patriots. We'll definitely be back next week to sort of break it all down and talk about this game. You swore to the Kool-Aid drinkers that you're not going to quit. You're not going to crazy on this team. You're going to hang in there, which is awesome. And I'm going to be positive, but also be real that, yeah, this is no walk in the park. And on paper, I don't see it as being a W, but I sure hope it is. So with that being said, Grifka, we'll be back next week to review this ball game. We'll have our thoughts on the teacher versus student on Sunday Night Football. We're hoping and praying our Lions can come out with a victory. And again, everybody, just share this podcast with people. We're going to keep coming to you, and we're going to try to chalk up some W's for this football game here soon, so we can have some super fun on this show and talk about some good things, because there is good things to come with this team. So Grifka, with that being said, give the people a drink it in, man, and we'll get out of here.
Drinking in, man.
With that, and with what little Tim would say, we're going to get out.
Okay.
This Sunday, I'm going to give you what you crave, what everybody here craves. Drink it in, man.